In today's episode, James has decided to make something I'm rather curious about, a volcano candle. So, let's get into it. As we all know, there's nothing wrong with liking candles, but they're not seen as very cool. So in today's video, what I've decided to do is I'm going to show you how to take these and turn them into something that is. I like the way that he says he's going to make candles cool, and the way he illustrates his point is by using juggling. I realised that if I use two different candles, I could have one be the magma layer and one be the outer casing. Okay? And what I thought is as it burns, the magma layer would slowly overflow the grey layer and we would get a nice effect of a volcano. And wax all over your work surface. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take this red candle and make it into a more volcano kind of shape. Okay, so this wax is coming off a lot easier than I actually thought it would. You may remember this knife from the episode where James constructs a wooden puzzle box. Good times. Yeah, that looks kind of volcano-ish, I think. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to introduce this white candle. Okay. And that I'm going to use to heat up this grey candle so that it drips all over it. Okay. Right, so the first thing I need is to light this white candle, and I'm going to use these matches here. It doesn't matter which matches you use, but I noticed something rather interesting on the back of it. Hopefully if you can see here, maybe if I just zoom in a wee bit. Danger, fire kills children, and it's also got a nice picture of a child on fire. And remember, you can send your illustrations of children on fire to Ideas of James, P.O. Box. Aha, there we go. Smooth. So now that that candle's lit, I want to drip the grey candle over this red one. Is it just me, or would it make more sense to light the grey candle and have the grey wax drip onto the red candle? Okay, this is really actually not working. What? You mean your ridiculous way of melting candle wax isn't working? Wow, I never, shocking. Okay, I've decided maybe what the best thing to do is to heat it up in a kind of tray thing. No! No, 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 just light the grey candle. Okay, this is taking quite a long time. There's probably a better way of doing this. There is. Light the grey candle. Oh, man. That has to be the worst pouring of wax I've ever seen. Put it in some hot water instead. Yes, I'm just going to let it melt in there. And then I'll use a spoon or something to put it over the candle. We'll see what happens. Quite a bit of runoff, so maybe we can do it a bit slower. That's not really working. Alright, I've had an idea. Oh, he's had another idea. I think maybe if I just dip it into the wax directly, maybe that'll help. This looks fiddly. Oh, beepers. No, beep it on it. Well, what I've done there is completely fuck that up. He's right, what he has done there is completely mess that up. Okay, so the wax is actually floating on top of this hot water. So every time I dip this in and out, it's actually coating this rather nicely. Now, obviously, I wouldn't have recommended this method, but it seems to actually be working fairly well. I think James took a minute to reflect and think about what he could do. So this is actually really quite warm, so what I'm going to do is dip it in some cold water. And hopefully if I alternate between the cold water and the hot water, that should help. Oh no, thing's leaking. So I've now got a tub of cold water. So I dip that in here and then dip it in the cold water and just alternate. I really didn't think this would be a good way of putting wax on a candle, and it probably isn't, but it's quite easy. You know, this is really rather interesting because I think most people would have just taken the grey candle and dripped the wax over, but because James took an alternative route and messed each one of them up, he's ended up using a method that seems to be quite effective and much quicker. Okay, so I actually don't think there's that much candle wax left in there. So what I'm going to do is pour the cold water in here. Because the worst thing you could do is pour this hot mixture down the sink. Because that would just end up blocking all your pipes. I think I should put a safety warning on this video. Don't use large knives, matches, or pour candle wax down your sink. Okay, so this is our Volcano candle. Now I know it doesn't look like much. It looks fairly innocuous. It looks like a pebble. And I don't think it looks that bad. If you put this amongst a nice background or something, I think this would look pretty stunning. I think if you put it in the middle of an ocean with, you know, like greenery and wildlife and snow on top, yeah, I think it might look more like a volcano. But right now, no. I guess all that's left to do is actually just light the thing. Oh, there's a song.
I know how much you enjoy cylindrical things. They give you more pleasure than I'll ever know. But what if I could tell you there was another way that would stimulate you so much more? It will last several hours and never erupt. You can have it out at parties and not be judged, and everyone will say to you, I wish I had a volcano.
Well, I don't know about you, but I actually think that went pretty well. You think that went pretty well? You know, now I'm not saying that if I was to do this project again, I wouldn't do things, you know, a wee bit differently, like with the design and, you know, certainly the method that I used. Wait, are you saying that if you had to do this again, you wouldn't take a candle, try to melt the wax off another candle to melt it onto another candle again? You know, I set out to, you know, create something that was a bit more interesting than the normal range of candles that are out there. And I proved, at least to myself, that candles don't need to be boring. I was really intrigued to see this episode because I'd never heard of a volcano candle before. And even when I did a search for one, I certainly couldn't find any. What I could find were lots of pillar candles. And although pillar candles are nice, they're just not cool. And I think James has been really ambitious here to take something that isn't that cool and try and make it cool. Now, obviously, he's used a volcano, which I think is a really, really interesting idea because obviously volcanoes are just this massive, hard lump, but they become almost liquid when they've got all that lava flowing over them. And there's a great parallel between, you know, that and candles that are hard until you light them and they become, you know, a bit liquidy and maybe flow over the edge. I think it's a great parallel and I think it's a really great idea. Now, sure, the execution in this video was a bit, you know, hit or miss, but again, it's the first time that he's done it. And I think if he did made it again and, you know, then made it again, he would end up with something really, really great. And on this channel, I don't really, you know, try and, you know, give him a mark on his execution. I give him a mark on his idea. And I think this idea has the potential to be pretty amazing. So although I don't do this very often, I'm going to do it in this video. 9 out of 10.